Hello, and welcome to week 4, everybody. I'm super happy with everyone's progress thus far. I have almost 100% completion of assignments, just a couple missing assignments from students here and there. So I'm really pleased with everybody's progress and want to encourage you to keep it up. So let's talk about really quick where we were last week and what to expect this week. So we're talking a lot about you and what you need to do to be successful as we transition to college, right? What we need to rise to college level expectations and making sure that we are in a place of a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. So knowing that we are capable, right? That we understand our own potential and believe in ourselves and that we're willing to put in consistent work to get there. And if we know and we do those things, that growth mindset belief that we will be successful no matter what. So let's talk about last week. Last week was about motivation or discipline and goal setting. And we talked a lot about understanding that a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? How many times have we sat there, on New Year's Eve and tried to make a goal for ourselves, but we really didn't put in a strategic plan with steps and a specific detailed outline of how we're going to achieve those things and how we're going to hold ourselves accountable, right? So we talked about setting short-term and long-term goals using the SMART formula for goal setting, right? So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, right? And making sure that if we use that social science data for setting SMART goals, that we will be more successful. We also learned about hacking dopamine, right? That chemical in our brain that helps us with desire and motivation for short-term goal setting. So doing things like setting up to-do lists, reminders, even calling a friend on the phone to let them know how well you did on that test. All sorts of things to hack that dopamine. So go back to that learning page and see how you can help yourself with those quick short-term dopamine blasts. That will help us get those short-term goals accomplished. Now, for long-term goals, we really need to understand the science behind neuroplasticity, this foundational, really groundbreaking, really cool science about our brains that we now know that we didn't know, right? That until the day we die, our brains are always changing based on what our habits are. So we can form new habits, right? And this sets in about 21 days. In about 21 days, you can sort of form a new habit, which really just means that you're setting up a new synapse in your brain, right? A new neural pathway that can replace old bad habits you want to replace, right? So learning how we can use neuroplasticity to rewire our brain and create new neural pathways for long-term goal completion is really cool and interesting science. So learn about discipline, right? Rather than motivation, and make sure that you are thinking about how to set yourselves up for success. Now, this week, we're talking about something a lot of you have mentioned in your discussion boards at the start of the course about what you want to get out of this class. And so many students talk about time management. And probably what they're actually talking about is how to avoid procrastination. Procrastination, I always tell my students, is the biggest disease on campus, simply because everyone who is human does have some bad habit relating to procrastination, okay? So first, let's talk about the purpose of this particular unit is to make sure that you guys understand that in college, this will be challenging. You know that. But we want to help you work smarter, not harder, right? We want to help you understand why you do the things you do and how you can help yourself sort of realize the undercurrents of the things you tell yourself that get in the way, right? So we want to make sure that you guys are understanding how much time you actually have in a day, right? I know you know concretely 24 hours, but so many things draw our attention away, and those things are called time bandits, right? Things that steal your time. Talking with a friend on the phone, texting, of course, our devices, right? Whether it's video games or apps, things like that. Anything that pulls your time away, and you guys know you'll look up and 45 minutes or 2 hours have gone by, right? So we want to learn how to use our time efficiently and effectively as a student so we can do that work smarter, not harder thing. Okay. We want to make sure that the choices that we make with our time align with our goals. So if you say you're here to be an academic to get your degree, then you should be spending time every single day being a student. And I don't just mean class time. I mean, you should be looking over your notes. You should be completing assignments. You should be reading your textbooks. Every single day, you should be planning out your day into incremental chunks, right? Where you are getting things accomplished. Because if you do not structure your time will run away with you. So this is an important thing for you to learn this week. Are you reflective about that time? right? Do you say, oh, I'm so stressed, I don't have enough time, and then get caught up in that self-fulfilling prophecy without actually really looking at the time that you have and holding yourself accountable? This week, some of the activities will ask you to look at that, right? To get into your phones and to unlock those statistics that tell you how much time do you actually spend, scrolling, right? Insta or whatever it is that you're looking at, and how much time does it actually pull away from you daily and weekly. So we also are going to talk this week so much about, since our phones actually take so much time away from us, on average, it's about 8 hours a day per American, believe it or not, that we get sucked into screens. So how do we then sort of get that time back? We have to be very mindful, right? And we have to be very structured with that time. So we're going to talk about making calendars, setting up reminders, setting up alarms, using our calendars to block out time specifically to structure our days reflective of what our goals are, and to set our priorities and make sure they're reflected during that time. Okay. And then we're going to talk about procrastination, what it really is, which, by the way, procrastination is just a coping mechanism for stress. Think about it. When you get an assignment that you don't want to do, then you avoid it. That's procrastinating. But the problem is that procrastination isn't really an effective coping tool for stress, because what it does is actually cause more stress because you know that you're avoiding it, right? So procrastination is not a personality trait, right? You're not a procrastinator. You just have a habit of procrastinating. And what do we know now about our brains and the neuroscience of our brains? We know that neuroplasticity means that I can know that I do procrastinate. And so then I can make different choices. And when I make different choices, instead of avoiding that assignment, if I decide I'm going to give this 10 minutes instead of avoiding it, right? If we're making a different choice, we're setting up a new neural pathway that tells us that instead of procrastinating, I'm going to get serious. So we're talking about procrastination. There's some really cool videos this week that talk about all of these things and just making different choices that align with your goals, right? Learning how to be an academic who's here to learn versus a high school kid who's here to get by. That continual understanding that we are shifting our paradigms to know why we're here and to get serious about it, not just to say it, but to actually be it, right? So this is important. So pay attention to this week. All of us can use this information, but it's most important not just to learn it, but to apply it. So make sure that you move through the assignments this week, which are a discussion board and also a calendar assignment, and make sure that you guys plan out your week very carefully and get those things done proactively so that if you encounter any problems, you have time to ask or time to solve them. Okay? Thank you so much, everybody, for doing such an amazing job. Please come and see me during office hours. I'm always here to help. Take care.